Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, May 21st, and it's your girl Shantae here of the Earthly and Ethereal. And I thought it would be cool to come and do this quick video. It's Wednesday, Mercury Day. I have an abundance of energy as we are, cruising into Gemini season. Mercury rule girls over here. So I wanted to come and just talk to y'all about something that I have been kind of just diving into myself and kind of just exploring. And I wanted to see and talk to you guys and kind of, connect with you and see if maybe this is something that would relate to y'all because I feel so drawn to this concept that it has gotten me to do a lot of research and really just dig into what and how and who and all the goodies about, this particular topic, which is how to know if you are an earth angel. And I feel like that is something that, one of those terms that we hear and gets thrown around a lot in the spiritual community, especially, if you've ever been in the presence of someone who has that like earth angel vibration or archetype, you kind of know, right? But the reason why for me I started to examine this topic is because I'm always studying my natal chart and I have a really interesting Neptune placements, and I've always felt like my Neptune placement really indicated for me things of my personality and how I kind of feel, how I exist here in this earth realm. And it has quite a impact, And in studying that, I kind of realized that my Neptune placement, the way my Neptune shows up, is connected to people, beings who are considered to be earth angels. And I'll get into that in another video. This video I think is going to probably be a 3-part video because I don't want to like pack everything into it. But this is just going to be kind of a way for us to identify, our possible traits and, to see, are you an earth angel? Are you an earth angel? Let's see. So, I guess we should start with what is an earth angel? Um, and just doing a little research, the concept, it's a spiritual concept, the idea of being an earth angel. And it's really someone who basically was sent to assist humanity, right? When we think about the purpose of an earth angel, is everyone an earth angel? No. Some people just they hold that vibration specifically as an earth angel for a specific reason. But it's someone who was sent to assist humanity in the process of healing, awakening, or just elevating the consciousness. And I feel like a lot of people who are earth angels don't necessarily know they're earth angels. And that's why I feel like content like this is important because it brings the awareness of, okay, this is maybe why my life, or there has been this pattern of so and so in my life, is because really I was sent here as a vessel, to aid in the awakening, the healing, and the elevation of humanity. Um, Ultimately speaking, an earth angel is spirit in human form, right? But this spirit is specifically pretty evolved. It's an evolved soul. It's not your everyday spirit, your everyday soul. This is an evolved soul that has come into this earth realm again with a very specific purpose to transmute, awaken, heal, elevate the collective. And one thing that I will say, earth angels, I think, will definitely be there'll be deep impacts. People who just feel. They often will feel others' pain, others' emotions, and they will attract those. And this is the part that gets a little tricky, which we'll kind of dig into more in another video probably. But they will attract those who need help. They'll attract those who are wounded and need help, right? Remember, the purpose of the earth angel is to heal, awaken, elevate, right? So that means that what will be attracted to that earth angel is going to be people who is another soul who is here with that purpose of needing to heal, awaken, so and so, Um, and that can be a little rough on the earth angel if not fully in understanding of your path and your purpose. Um, Often, earth angels too can be misunderstood souls because many earth angels feel out of place or just feel different, especially in childhood. And they'll often question, why am I even here? Like, why am I even here? And have a strong desire to want to go home. They'll also, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, there's also going to be that cosmic knowing, that cosmic feeling. Me personally, from a child, I've always been very curious, very intrigued by the cosmos, by the planets, by the sun, the moon, the stars, and I've always felt a connection, but I didn't have an understanding or an understanding, right? So there's that hankering feeling that draws you to the cosmos in a sense. And I don't know if everyone has that feeling, because growing up, I never heard it communicated to me by anyone else, but I certainly always had that, like, you know, wanting to know more. And I would literally like imagine myself like floating to the sun and wondering like what would happen if I got close to the sun. Like, just always that wanting to go home, I guess you could say. So oftentimes earth angels will feel out of place here on earth because it's an evolved soul. Really, earth angels probably don't want to be here. They probably don't want to be there. But again, sent specifically with a mission, whether they are aware of it or not. Another thing is that an earth angel is going to be an old soul, right? This is a soul that has a lot of experience, a soul that has a lot of psychic intuition, even spiritual gifts that comes naturally. This is a soul that is wise in energy, and often as an earth angel, you may have a lot of deja vus, things that just feel so familiar to you because you've done this so many times. So you'll have like these strong sense of deja vu that just kind of comes upon you, and you can't necessarily explain it, but it's just a part of the process of you being an old soul. And I know that we have all come across people who are old souls, and you can tell old souls because there's just a sense of kind of handling this human experience a little bit more better. There's a sense of having a heightened emotional maturity, right? That doesn't come naturally to others. And any old soul that I've met, because I know, or not old soul, but earth angels that I've met are just people who walk with such a strong sense of self without being too much in their ego, right? Because they don't feel a need to prove anything. The lower aspects of like being a human being is not things that they really struggle with. Oh, earth angels struggle with things that are more traumatic. And again, we'll get into that in other videos. But some of the traits of an earth angel are they have a strong sense of deep compassion. Why? Because again, sent here to heal, transmute, the collective. And so because of that, they feel others' pain. And more importantly, they want to help. And this is the part I hate. They want to help. To heal it, it just comes natural, They're not just spectators. They're not people just watching on, observing. They want to help the conditions to get better. And I find that earth angels also are people who are drawn to spirituality. So earth angels may not necessarily be too tied up in religion or, dogmatic religious concept, because they have more of an understanding of the divine connection to the creator, right? They have that one-to-one perspective, so to speak. So earth angels will naturally just seek out spiritual truths and higher meanings, right? These are the people who are probably speak a lot in parables and have an understanding of parables. Another thing is that an earth angel really will have a strong sense of purpose. Again, I'm going to speak to this from a personal perspective. It's not always that you know. It's not always that you know what you're meant to do. You just know that you're here to do something. It's not always that you know exactly what you're here to do. You just know that you're here to do something meaningful. You have a purpose. You just have a mission, and you feel that mission like until it's realized, it just feels like an unmet need in your spirit, right? So a lot of earth angels, I feel, will have that strong sense of purpose. And another thing is, another one that I don't love, but very much a part of the process of being an earth angel, a part of the journey, is that a lot of earth angels often face hardships in life. Earth angels experience intense life challenges. The reason is to help develop the empathy, the compassion, and the strength needed to aid and assist in their mission. So a lot of times earth angels will have had like really rough childhoods, right? That is their training ground for their spirit. That is their training ground to develop a sense of deep empathy and being able to relate, because it's hard to heal what you cannot relate to, right? So no matter what your specific brand of trauma has been, it will help you to develop an overall sense of being compassionate, having empathy, especially if you work through it correctly, right? If you work through it in your journey. Another thing is, I find that a lot of earth angels love nature, love animals, and just find peace in the natural world, in nature, right? Earth angels want to be outside. They want to be in the sun. They want to be under the moonlight. They want to talk to trees. They want to hug trees. They want to have their feet in grass. They want to be by water. And depending on your specific, element that is your element that you work with, that is, conducive of your own personal natal chart and your astrological codex, that element may be something that calls you more. Earth angels are working with the herbs, and they are more nature based, right? They are not necessarily people that are taking the over the counter medicine. They just are more drawn to things that are natural as opposed to synthetic. I would say that with earth angels, synthetic, GMO, things like that will actually have a very, very bad effect, right, on them. So something to keep in mind there. And there's always a healing presence about earth angel, meaning when people are around earth angels, they feel a sense of calm. They feel a sense of comfort. A touch from an earth angel will feel almost healing. Like if they touch your hand, or if you have like a, what do you call it, a like tension in your back, and they massage you, it will feel healing to you, because they are just able to comfort. They offer that healing aspect very strongly. And then lastly here, one thing that I've noticed about myself, especially as I have kind of healed and become more in alignment with my own like truth and, you know, my divine calling, I'm very sensitive to harsh environments. And I think this kind of goes back to the idea of earth angels being more connected to nature. So things like artificial lights, things like noise, especially unnatural noises like a TV, or anything that is like just harsh, they're very sensitive to. So lights may cause headaches, the TV, the noise of the TV, that transmutation, right? It may cause headaches or cloudiness of the mind, the brain, and just overall harsh environments or just conflict, violence. They just struggle quite a lot with those aspects. So that is pretty much for now where I'm going to leave it when it comes to the traits of an earth angel, because I feel like that was a lot. And it's just something to start thinking about in our upcoming videos. Like I said, I think I want to do this video and then another two. I want to talk about the type of earth angels there are, because there are different types that will take on specific roles, in this earth plane. So I kind of want to dig into that. And then I want to really focus on, why do earth angels suffer so much? Why do earth angels suffer so much? Which for me was really something I had to really sit with and really kind of figure out, because it really is what can make you feel either empowered or like a victim. So understanding the why kind of gives you a sense of empowerment for your purpose. So I think that's important. And while we're looking into the why, we also want to look into some of the astrological, nuances that can highlight, that journey of the earth angel, because that kind of indicates a lot of, of the why as well. And then we're gonna talk about the signs you might be an earth angel. We're gonna dive into that. So anyway, y'all, I hope this was enjoyable. As always, thank you guys for listening, and I wish you divine wellness on this beautiful Wednesday. I'm going outside because the sun is out and I gotta be in the sun. Bye, y'all.